So I turn on my internets, and what's this I see? White men, I'm sorry, are speaking their mind? I thought white men were supposed to just shut the fuck up and stay out of sight and be blamed for things. What is this? I thought white men were supposed to just pay their taxes so that it could be, used to help every other cause, even those directly in conflict with one's own benefits and survival, and shut up. I thought white men were allies. That's what it is. If you're gonna be an ally, if you're gonna be an ally of like it's basically the anti-white movement, the ally of LGBTQ, ally of, you know what I mean, ally of giving everybody a voice besides yourself, and they have literal videos on how to be a good white person, also known as an ally. Why are we speaking in World War II terms? So allies, as I remember it, was the bloc with Britain, America, the West, and Axis was Germany, so on and so forth. Italy was in there. They, of course, got wrecked. So now we're speaking as if it's a war, and I need to get away from the axis of white Christian culture and ally myself with every fucking subversive group, because they all want to group together. You ever notice that? Islam wants to group with LGBTQ. Hey, don't ask me if that doesn't make sense. How the fuck is Islam and homosexuality going to ally themselves? It doesn't make sense, right? You would think. It doesn't make sense. How? Because they're both allied against Christian culture. They're going to work together, is the idea. Whoever's fucking saying they should ally, work together to get rid of whatever's remaining of the Christian culture. Haven't they stomped this thing out to the ground? You would think, right? But I think these people are remembering 100 years ago in Russia, 1917, they literally burnt every church, killed millions of white people. You don't think it could happen to you? Just look back 100 years. You probably don't even have to look that far back. In the 40s, the 30s, Ukraine. 20 million starved, every Bible burned, every church burned, every pastor killed, every nun raped. Every one. Unless they somehow crawled out of that area and found refuge in a neighboring Austrian town, village, and somebody took them in. That was your only hope. Chicago, where are you going to run? You got nowhere. Where are you going to run, California? Into the ocean? Nowhere to run. You got nowhere to go. You go north, you freeze. You go south, you fucking end up in a desert. So 100 years ago, they stomped out Christianity. They thought they fucking drenched the last candle in fucking blood. And they fucking had their foot on Christianity and them people in Russia and the Soviet bloc's throat. Poland. My girlfriend's parents, they've told me stories about Poland. They witnessed Chernobyl. They were behind the Iron Curtain. Anyway, so they stomped it out, they thought. They fucking killed it. But somehow, in 2017, Russian Orthodoxy, Eastern Orthodoxy, has been reborn and is stronger than ever. So that's why they need to do everything they can. And if you don't think this is about Christianity, and you don't think, if you're one of these white nationalists, another thing is, how is white nationalist a bad word? you're white and you like your country. So now you're the bad guy. Well, we all knew that. So anyway, the allies, they're using war terms. And I don't know, is Nick Fuentes? He seems like the real deal. It just kind of fucks me up that his last name is Fuentes, but, you know, he's probably Spanish descent. And it's not about the last name. I sound a little bit ignorant in my statement there. But you have to be very, very wary these days. Everybody's a fucking snake. Everybody's a liar. There's no integrity. And all these white people, there's a little bit of a buzz online. White guys aren't just shutting up and fucking going and playing video games and becoming incels and not having children or dying of heroin. My whole generation in this fucking city, I wouldn't say it all, but I'm a good 25% dead. Lots of friends. It's a plague. It's another one thrown on you. Now, I'll say one more thing about that. If it wasn't meant to kill you, if you were ever found in possession or found to be addicted, they would immediately sequester you to 30 days in a building, feed you 3 times a day, and say, this is the rule. If you get caught with drugs, if you get caught losing your free will to drugs, where you can no longer say no, you're compelled to use drugs because it's a very strong addiction, we're going to have to send you somewhere for 30 days. Now, we're not going to send you to the worst jail and you got to fight every day and it's horrible. We're just going to send you to a separate building where you can kind of try to break your addiction. I mean, these people need help. I know a lot of people get out of them and they die anyway, but it's very ugly, very sad. And I myself have seen so many that I do have compassion. I've seen people rebound and become great people, the great people they were supposed to be. And I've seen great people die. And it's all around me. So, I mean, a lot of people will say kill them all, fuck them and move on. But I just happen to have a little bit different view on it. Now, I'm not all about, 100% not blaming the person who's caused so much harm in their own life and others around them, because we got to take some responsibility. Man, it's crazy out here. But they're starting to make a little bit of noise. And you know what? I don't pay attention to it too much. But it's about time. And maybe it's like Trump branding. I don't know. There's always the concern it'll be subverted. So, white people, you're just gonna... Everybody else has pride. There's pride fucking parades for fucking homosexuals on the north side of Chicago. There's a pride parade. They all have pride, but you're supposed to just shut up and get in the corner and work. And honestly, they don't even want you to work. I honestly believe that jobs are always used in war. I mean, they'll blow up factories in real war, but if they're calling themselves allies, then they're allied against something. And that's, for all intents and purposes, anybody white. They just consider you the bad guy. You've been scapegoated, white people. In a country that's majority white, you've been made the enemy. Isn't that amazing? But basically because these cities are mostly non-white. It'll be the outlying suburbs where the majority of whites live, or places like Denver. In Chicago, it's a third. It's 1/3 white, 1/3 Mexican, 1/3 black. So they could play them off against each other for fucking eternity. They've scapegoated fucking white people. White people are now the bad people. It's disgusting. But I don't want to get too hung up in the shit. My baby boomer friends always tell me this too will pass, because their whole life things have just passed. But I don't know. We're going to see what happens with this. I just know that what a man does is he speaks the truth and he protects innocence. And if you have to go out and do some uncomfortable shit, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. If you need to speak the truth in order to try to put some order back into the world so that children, imagine all the kids growing up these days. They're going to school where they're teaching homosexuality and teaching that white people are bad. Not every school, but you know there are some schools. You can look it up online. There's some schools that say this, that, and the other and try to brainwash children. So you're going to have to get a little more involved. We can't be like the people 20 years ago. I mean, I'm not saying we go full-blown fucking marching in the streets, all that bullshit. Just be firm and be stern with these people. Speak matter-of-factly, stick to the facts, do not rely on emotions. Their whole fucking trick is getting everybody riled up emotionally so that these people do not make logical decisions. They're going off emotions. They've been programmed to react a certain way. They've been programmed when they see your fucking face to look at white skin and, you know, basically identify that white skin with everything else they've heard bad about white people. One of them being, the white privilege. That you don't have to work as hard in life. That somehow magically your life is easier. I'm sorry, but a lot of white people I see on the south side are living a harder life. Mainly because of their own actions. But there's no such thing. But they're teaching people to look at you and prejudge you, which is prejudice. Prejudice against whites my whole life. I've never known anything but it. I've had to act a certain way because I'm the only white person, and I have to fucking try a little bit to be likable because I'm the only representative for my race. So I can't be a fucking total jagoff. Although I have been. So, everybody, speak the truth. Be fucking stern with anybody. Fuck it. There is no more time for, we gotta fucking... I do understand avoiding conflict a little bit at the Christmas dinner table, at somebody's kid's birthday. That's not the time nor place. But you just have to speak out. They're trying to silence you. How is that not genocidal? How is it not genocidal to try to take all jobs from people so that they won't have money to raise a family? And how is that not genocidal all the way, but a lead up to it to say you can't go to college because of your skin, when they constantly preach that getting a college education leads to a good, career, which then will enable you to have a good family. So they're trying to fuck you over in the door to go into a better college, meaning a not as good job, meaning not as much money for your innocent children. So that's all I have to say for now. I'm going to be watching this every fucking day. Let's see how gay it gets. Let's see what happens. But Ben Shapiro and all them, I don't know how you fucking conservatives were all clapping like seals over Ben Shapiro. How? I get it. Actually, I do get it. You were given something. You were used to nothing. And then somebody came out speaking logic instead of just all emotions. So I understand why people gravitated toward Ben Shapiro. And Ben Shapiro capitalized. He hit while the iron was hot. He hit it hot while it was hot. He got on. The Trump thing was going on. But isn't he a never Trumper? It makes no sense. There's quite a few people like this out here. What about us? What about our survival? We're just supposed to fight against every fucking thing thrown at us. Drugs, fucking bad economies, this, that, and other. White people in a bad economy will go and start a fucking business. They're not like, oh, there's no jobs around here. I'm not crying. I'm just saying. For the mediocre white person, you cannot be Homer Simpson. You cannot be a guy in the 80s. Men I've heard in the 80s, like I always complain about in Chicago, rent was $350. Your car cost $300. Gas was $1. They could be dumb. They could be alcoholics and still fucking get by. You can't do that these days. You cannot get by unless you fucking are halfway responsible. And me growing up, seeing a lot of them irresponsible people, thought that in life you could just fuck around and enjoy yourself. Kids can't do that these days, else guess what? They'll find themselves homeless. So, here's the river, and here's the crack shack. I built this crack shack. Everybody says, what are you, crazy? Why are you building a shack? Why are you building a fort out in the woods? Well, the purpose of this fort was so I could sit back there. It's got carpet on it now because it's getting colder. I was like, fuck it, man. Throw the carpet. The purpose of it was to stay warm and be able to let dogs play out here. You know, let them play out by the river while I could, you know, knock some of that. And even if it's like raining or snowing, dogs don't care. I'm gonna get another dog. I miss my dog. It's very, very sad. But everybody, God bless.